everyone, welcome to Felicity Yarn Studio. My name is Zoe. I am a fiber artist coming to you from the foothills of North Carolina, and this is my little space where I like to share what I have been making and working on for the last few weeks. So this is going to cover like the last, I don't know, 6 weeks to 2 months. In true typical summer fashion for myself, my making mojo kind of abandoned me throughout the month of June, but it has been coming back. I have cast on a few new projects, so I hope that you enjoy what I have to share with you guys today. Just up front, I have one little announcement to make about advent calendars. There are plenty of listings left in the shop. I am currently dyeing all of those up, so I have dyed up 9 out of the 24 mini colorways, and then there's the full-size skeins left to dye up, and then the great packaging begins. So if you're interested in purchasing one, I have an Etsy shop where I sell my hand-dyed yarn. And this year I am offering 3 different bases. I have sock yarn and DK weight, which is the same, 75% superwash nylon, 25%, no, that was wrong. They are 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and then a fingering weight MCN base, which is 80% superwash, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. So that is the luxury blend that we went with for this year, the royal we. Yeah, so those are coming along, and completely forgot to mention this year the theme is the dressmaker's advent calendar. So I am dyeing up each colorway based off of an old gown. I keep leaning towards things from like the Victorian to the Edwardian period. That is just what I happen to be drawn to the most. Those are really beautiful gowns, and it's a little bit easier on me because that's the time period when synthetic dyes started to become part of fiber production. So that really opens me up as far as, you know, what colorways I can dye that are not the same like muted tones over and over. So yeah, it is a speckled fade this year that I'm dyeing up. There's lots of pastels, but also still some bright colors mixed in there. When you speckle, that kind of has to be bright based off of the way that the speckles work. But anyway, I'm not going to get off on a dyeing tangent here. I have been dyeing up some other shop inventory that I will save for the end to update you guys on. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in on what I have been knitting. As I previously mentioned, my knitting mojo really just abandoned me for most of the month of June. Towards the end of June, things got better. And for a few weeks there, all I could do was like 2 to 3 rows on a pair of socks every night. So that will be my first finished object that I will share with you guys. I do have 2 socks, but I'm splitting my blockers today because I have 2 pairs of finished socks to share. But these are socks that I knit out of yarn that I picked up on our travels to Iceland in March. But this is just some Retrosaria 100% non-superwash sock yarn. I apologize, I don't know where the label is. I don't know what colorway number this is. It's the red speckly one. Yeah, so I did not really follow a pattern on this one. I was just kind of picking my favorite elements of sock knitting for this because I really loved this base. I really love the other pair of socks that I made out of this yarn before. So I wanted these to be something that I would plan on keeping in my sock drawer for quite a while and get some good use out of. So I did a 2x1 rib cuff all the way down. I did want to do a heel flap and gusset because again, these are going to be kind of high rotation, and heel flap and gusset is what fits my foot best. I did an eye partridge heel. I'm not sure if you can actually make that stitch out with the way that the yarn is dyed, but nonetheless, I just enjoy knitting the eye partridge heel. And then, you know, picked up and did the decreases for the gusset. down to the toe decreases. The only weird thing that I encountered with this, and this was a problem of my own making, I had an odd number of stitches on each side of the needle because I was doing magic loop 2 at a time. Yeah, I think I did 66 stitches total, so 33 on each needle, which was fine. It's just I normally work an even number on each side of the needles. So it just made coming to do the toe decreases a little like I had to kind of pay attention and make sure that I wasn't messing myself up. But yeah, these turned out really nice. I'm really happy with these. I don't have the leftovers because I actually gifted them to one of my nieces who learned how to knit last October, November when they were out here. We had to make an impromptu trip back east last week and I left the rest with her because it was just floating around my travel knitting bag and she wanted to start something. So I gave it to her to make a little headband. So I'm happy to pass that along to her. But yeah, these are my Retrosaria socks. I am quite happy with them. I will say if you need a pattern and you want to kind of be a little bit adventurous and put your own favorite sock elements together, I would recommend checking out Sandra, who has the Cherry Heart podcast. She has a pattern called the Pick and Mix sock pattern where I think she covers a couple of these different elements. I know she has different heels and toes. I'm not sure about like the cuff options, but that's a good starting point, and I want to say that's a really reasonably priced pattern for all the information that you get, like maybe $2 or $3. I could be wrong, but I remember it being a great value for the price that she is charging for it. So yes, that is finished object number 1. All right, again, like I mentioned, socks were about the only thing that I could really wrap my brain about for a few weeks there in June. I don't know what my problem was, but I managed to finish Jason's socks as well. This is yarn from Muststash Yarns. It is in one of their Star Wars colorways, the Emperor Palpatine colorway, which I believe is called like Evil Emperor, so they don't, you know, infringe on any copyright issues there. But yes, he really is happy with how these turned out. I'm very happy with how they turned out. They were 2 at a time, toe up, straight up vanilla. I did a 2x1 cuff, no, 2x2 cuff on the top here for him. And yeah, I'm kind of pleased with how like symmetrical and even these turned out. I did just a regular old afterthought heel. I did dye up the mini for the afterthought heel here. There is one little thing, but I'm not letting it bother me. Yeah, on the heel where I had knit in a piece of yarn for the afterthought heel, this color change happened and it's like half a row of gray there. But you know what? It's not my pair of socks. I don't have to look at them. He doesn't care. I don't care. It's all good. So yeah, he has gigantic feet. He wears a size 15. So this is actually the second pair of socks that I have made for him this year. I finished a pair in hand spun right before our trip to Iceland. So 2 pairs of socks in 1 year. He is done getting socks from me. I always forget how long his socks take to knit because I think I go up to 80 stitches total per sock. So I guess that's another good point to make if you're ever worried about 100 grams of yarn not being enough to make socks. It is more than enough because I still have leftovers of this yarn that I could probably get myself shorties out of, and plus his full-size socks here. So yeah, if you are into self-striping yarn, check out Muststash Yarns. Yeah, pretty happy with how these turn out as well. Visual proof that there is a second sock. Moving right along, during those few weeks there in June where I just couldn't be bothered, I did pull something out of hibernation because it is Mindless, and I really kind of was in the process of clearing out a bunch of works in progress. I didn't finish it, but I've got the ball rolling again on this project. So this is my corner to corner garter stitch blanket. I was about to call it granny stripe, but that's my other massive blanket project that is ongoing. Let me start at this end. This is where I started. I want to say I started this project about 1.5 years ago, and at one point or another it just got put into timeout because I had lots of other things going on, but I have since pulled it back out here. And basically I am following Grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern, but just making it gigantoid and into a rectangle and not a square. So this stitch marker is where I was the last time. I'm on the decrease end of things here. This is how many stitches I have left on the needle. So it is actually coming right along. Now that I'm decreasing, I am making faster and faster progress, obviously. So this project came about when I was going through my stash a while ago, and I had like 12 or 13 full-size skeins, all in these kind of nice, lovely pastel shades. The majority of them were gifted to me by some of my lovely knitting friends. So I'm gonna wait to go through all of the different colors until I am finished with this, because I'm not gonna be able to remember them all right now off the top of my head, but I know there is Chang Fibre, Stranded Dyeworks. There's some Nora George that my lovely friend Gemma sent me. Naomi gifted me some Toad Hollow yarn. I think there's some from Susie of Elderflower Stitches. But yeah, I really just needed garter stitch back and forth, back and forth. I'm holding 2 strands of yarn at once, and then once one ball runs out, I just join in the next strand for the kind of like marled fade look. So I anticipate if I spent, you know, a good week or less dedicated to knitting this, I could knock this out really quickly. So that's probably going to be on my agenda. It's really nice to have these projects that I don't have to think a lot about. My biggest decisions are what ball of yarn I'm gonna join in next. However, it's already a little bit decided for me. I did take a picture when I very first started of everything kind of faded out. So yeah, I have about 3 full-size skeins and like 6 or 7 little minis left in there to get through. I assume it's gonna be enough yarn. I might have yarn left over. I honestly don't know, and I am okay either way. I know that I can pull more stuff to finish this if I run out, and if I have some left over, it'll just go into my granny stripe blanket, which I haven't touched since the last time I recorded. I was like 1000% into that, and I had to put all the minis away because the clutter was making me a little bit crazy, even though that's the way I have to work on that. I have to see everything out in front of me, but I just kind of needed a visual break from seeing that yarn everywhere. So I guess I should have titled this episode as brought to you by Jessie Mae Martinsen Designs, because yeah, the next 3 projects are her designs that I'm going to share with you guys. So the first thing that I want to update you on is my Cozy Classic Raglan. This is her DK weight, kind of basic Raglan pullover pattern that is currently a tangled mess here. Yeah, so the last time I pulled this out, I tried it on and showed y'all. I had some weird like puckering and kind of bunching happening around the armpit area. I wasn't happy with the rate of decreases where I had picked up along the underarm, and I wasn't happy with the rate of decreases where I was decreasing from the arm. I did wind up ripping back. I picked up the same along the underarm, so it's still nice and neat. I was just a little more detailed on decreasing down to the number of stitches that I needed to work on the arm, because I tend to pick up 4 to 6 extra stitches along an underarm just to close those gaps and ensure a nice roomy fit. The other thing that I changed was I added 1 row in between the decreases along the arm so that it's fitting a little bit looser. It is fitting much nicer, the arm part is, I will say. So in June, Naomi came up, my sister, the yarn curator. Go check her new podcast episode out. She was up here in North Carolina for our nephew's birthday party. I tried this on for her and my mom to ask their opinion about the little poof thing happening here. So I tried it on with them, and we concluded a few things. The first being that I needed to steam block it to see how it would lay. Was it just laying funny, because it's kind of a tight gauge for DK weight. So I did that, and I have to say that did relax it a lot. And meow, you coming? After I did that, I felt a lot better. I also tried on a few, what? My co-host has come in to say things. I also tried on a couple of my DK weight sweaters that I already have here that are also Raglans. And I noticed that they also have a little bit of a poof happening over here. I think I just tend to notice it less because those are worked with what? Okay, I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that I notice it less on the other sweaters because I have actually knit those with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. This one I am essentially knitting with 0 ease, therefore it is standing out to my eye and I am hyperfixating on it. So I think with a good block, like proper soaking block, it will be fine. I think I just have to let it go. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with it, but I am. It's gonna be fine. This is gonna fit fine. So yeah, it has essentially been sitting in hibernation since mid-June. Since we took that road trip, this was the only project I took with me and worked on this sleeve a wee bit. So I need to pull that one back out and get it going. Again, I wouldn't say that it is a fault of the pattern per se. It is most definitely a me thing because I am knitting it again with very little ease. I don't remember what size I'm making on that, but it's either like 0 ease or like 2 inches of positive ease. Very little positive ease on that. So just keep that in mind if you are knitting garments and you don't want weird arm flap thingies happening on your Raglans. The next 2 projects that I have again are new cast-ons. They are both Jessie Mae designs. This one is her framework bralette. So let's see, here it is. And yeah, I've already flipped this one. So I am making mine out of 2 strands of Spectrum fibers. Apologies, I don't remember the colorway name on these. I know that it is one of her fall colorways, something to do with the changing leaf colors, I believe. Yeah, I don't have the labels in the bag here with me. But yes, I'm holding fingering weight double because this is, again, a DK weight pattern. And yeah, I am knitting the size large, which is the 36-inch bust. Or it's not really the bust, it's more like the under bust here, this ribbing part. And for me, that like bra band size, I usually wear a 40. So the pattern does have a lot of really detailed instructions. on how to measure yourself, where to measure yourself to really customize your fit for this thing, because it is quite stretchy. And the 2 times that I have tried this on, I've almost wondered if I should have gone down another size, but I kind of think that would have been too small. It does get quite stretchy, but I don't want it to get overly stretched out. I kind of want it to stay a little bit snug. That being said, I totally accept the limitations of a knitted bralette, most especially for someone of my size and proportions. Your girl is blessed, so I was a little bit worried at first for yarn chicken with this, because I only have the 2 skeins of yarn, so it's a total of 400 yards essentially that I have for this. It is knit from the bottom up. It is knit inside out, so this garter side is actually the right side that you wear facing out, with the slip stitch motif going up vertically on the bust there. I just flipped it inside out to show you guys. There's a lot of stitch markers, but it's not complicated. That is just to ensure that you're not, you know, winding up with one too many or one too few in each particular section when it comes to doing like the triangle portions that then make the strap. So again, I have a large bust. Without giving away too much personal information here, I think I need to knit a good like 10 inches to cover the actual bust part before I make the triangles, which then make the strap. So I think I've knit about 6 inches so far, and I have 50 grams of each ball left, and I think that's gonna be enough to get me there. Watch me wind up with a ton of yarn left over. But that being said, I totally accept the limitations of a knitted bralette. This is by no means going to be doing the heavy lifting. It is by no means going to be something that I am like wearing out into public. I am totally making this for myself to lounge around the house in the evenings. Also just for the experience of making it, because admittedly, I have been a skeptic for years on the knitted bralettes. So I'm here, I'm giving it a chance. I'm knitting with an open mind. The other thing is, I really loved these 2 skeins of yarn. I had them caked up for a like lacy knitted top, summer top, and I tried for a long time to get myself motivated to swatch for that. Never happened. I stared at these caked up balls of yarn, really wanting to work with them for probably the last year, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna make something different. It is okay to change your plans for your yarn. There, I said it, I'm putting it out there. Take permission to make whatever the heck you want to make out of your yarn. It's your yarn, do what you want with it. But similar scenario for the next new cast on / whip that I have to show you guys. This is yarn that has been caked up for a year or so now. Let me detangle it a bit here. I finally got around to casting on the Gr8 Gingham sweater. Isn't she lovely? I am so chuffed with how this is working up. It is knit out of 2 things that I dyed. Just some commercial MCN yarn that I dyed up, oh, I don't know, 3 years ago for another project that never came to fruition. Just this basic charcoal black yarn. And then this is some hand spun that I spun up last year when I wasn't sure what I wanted to make my laurel jumper out of. I thought about this combination for the laurel. In the end, I wound up changing my mind and doing something completely different. It was like my 3rd or 4th option for the laurel. But I did spin up 2 braids of this fiber that I dyed. It was Targhee and bamboo and silk. I'm pretty sure that is the blend. I know it was Targhee, and there's definitely something shiny in there, so I'm like 98% sure it's a bamboo Targhee silk. No idea how much yardage I have here. I know I have another skein of hand spun, not quite this big, and I have 4 skeins of this, so I have more than enough yarn for this Gr8 Gingham, which is actually written for sport weight yarn. I would say these are both more like fingering weight. However, I am knitting it up on the recommended needle size because it's essentially all over color work for the entire jumper. So I'm okay with it being a little bit looser gauge, not being quite so like tight and oppressive, since this is going to be quite warm. However, I have noticed my row gauge is a little bit short, so it calls for 11 repeats of the gingham chart to get 18 inches for a sleeve. I'm going to have to do 12 repeats. Not a problem. I can easily adjust for row gauge. I feel like that's a lot easier to adjust for than the stitch count. I haven't really checked the stitch count, but based off of how this sleeve is fitting, I'm going to assume that it is okay. I am going to block this one. I think I only have 1 more repeat to do on this. I'm going to block it and then check the gauge and everything, but I think it's okay. I'm rolling with it. I'm okay with this one being a little bit oversized. That being said, I am doing the 1X, which is a finished bust of 51 inches. My other thought is with it, since I'm doing the lighter weight yarn, it should even out any kind of gauge issues that I have. Theoretically, since I normally wear around a 44-inch bust. So yeah, I'm super thrilled with how this is coming out. I really love the like subtle purple to pinks to purples to pinks that the hand spun is giving. And yeah, I am going to chug right along on this. It was my main travel knitting, again, when we had to go back last week, and it's just a really easy, memorizable pattern. It's just engaging enough that it's not the vanilla knitting, but it's also not like super, I gotta think about it, at least at this point. I know the Raglans are gonna require some brain power, but I think once I knock out a few other things, then I'll be, and I get kind of to that point with this project, I'll be ready for that. So I'm really loving this. I've kind of been in a dark, moody place with my color palettes here lately, as you'll see coming up in the next few things as well. They're all kind of have this dark charcoal gray theme running through them. So yeah, that is the Gr8 Gingham. That ends the Jessie Mae Martinsen show here. Not sponsored, just a fan. All of her patterns are thoroughly written. She has large tester pools for all of her projects, with a wide range of body sizes. They're all size inclusive, so there's a lot of information to draw from, video tutorials included. Highly recommend any of her patterns. I'm gonna change pace here and hop into what I have been spinning. During my kind of mental needed break, I was spinning a little bit. I broke my e-wheel back out and I resumed the sweater spin that I started back in October, which was working with essentially these two from Apothefaery Dyeworks. And I have been spinning up the gray yarn mostly here. That is going to be the main colorway on a sweater, the Baroque Nouveau sweater by Unwind Knitwear, I think is who that's by. And then the red will be my color work, contrast color there. In October, I had got through like the first 3/4 of the first braid of yarn, and that is what this bobbin is. I'm wound up finishing that first bobbin. I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. I'm doing a 3-ply fingering weight spin for this. So the second bobbin is still on my wheel, but this is what I have left of the second braid. Not much. And then I want to go ahead and knock out the third braid. I had meant to make this project my like one and only tour de fleece goal. Didn't happen. I think I spun for the first 2 days through tour de fleece, and just I started knitting and other things happened where I was like, yeah, it's fine. This will get done when it gets done. I think my problem is I started with the like most boring part of the spin. Let's be real, when you're spinning, just spinning some charcoal gray in a dark room where I need a neck lamp to even see what I'm doing, it's not the most engaging. Spinning color is definitely a lot more fun to me. So I'm gonna power through. I'm gonna get this third braid spun up and get all that yarn plied, and then I will move on to this lovely deep burgundy rose. I don't even know what you would call this. It's absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with this braid when we were at SAF 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just lovely. Unfortunately, she doesn't put her colorway names on her labels, so I have no idea what they're called. But yeah, that is what I've been spinning. Once that project is done, I have a scrappy bundle from Wound Up Fiber Arts put aside that I'm looking forward to getting into. I kind of want to just spin another full-on scrappy crazy ass skein like I made my muscle bra out of that I wore on our trip. I will either make another muscle bra or just a pair of crazy ass socks. That's kind of what is calling to me at the moment. I'm tempted to pause this and spin that. At the same time, I feel like if I don't stay on task, that will just never get done. So I'm gonna get it done. Last but not least, I have saved the socks that I'm currently knitting up because it ties in with what I have been dyeing for the shop. So this is a colorway that I dyed up recently to commemorate our travels to Iceland. This is a Fire and Ice. It is my attempt to capture the colors of Iceland on a skein. You've got the like glacier blues and the black sand beaches here as the mini. The golds like in the greens of the mosses that are out there, the kind of pinky maroons that were in the lava tunnel cave. Yeah, I love how this turned out. It turned out beautifully. So I have dyed up some sock sets, some 50-gram sock sets actually. This is the first time that I have dyed up 50-gram sock sets. So they come with 50 grams of the main color and a 20-gram mini with the black sand beach colorway. And yeah, once I finished those socks, I needed a new pair to have for road traveling and running errands and whatnot. I do also have it on full-size skeins, just not as sock sets. But I think it's beautiful. I hope that you all think it's just as beautiful as I do. And I love that it has that special travel memory attached to it as well. I don't know if she is on screen, but I apologize if she's cleaning herself in front of everyone. So yes, some other 50-gram sets that I dyed up was the Water Lilies set, inspired by the Monet colorway, Monet paintings. I think this is absolutely beautiful. These are colors that I originally dyed for the Impressionist advent calendars that I dyed back in 2020. So this is another Monet painting inspired colorway called Springtime. And I think there's a few other ones in the shop. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know there's also a couple of one-of-a-kind mini sets that I put up in there. There are some other one-of-a-kind sock sets. This is the time of year where I really clear out any mist dyes or things that I have used to soak up dye at the end of a dyeing session. So yeah, the last shop thing that I wanted to mention that I think I forgot to put up at the top is that advent calendars. I am running my Christmas in July sale, so I think this is the only time of the year that I'm gonna put them on sale. They're 10% off for the month of July. Like I said, I still have plenty in stock, but they are moving quickly. Once they're sold out, they're sold out. I only dye a set number every year. There are lots of extra goodies going into these boxes as well, so go check that out. And I think that about does it. I think I have blethered on long enough. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I don't do Patreon or anything like that, but if you want to support me subscribing or going to the Etsy shop, I really appreciate any kind of support that you guys want to give. And yeah, hopefully I will be back sooner next time. We'll see. We'll see. I didn't get into a lot of life stuff. Nothing too crazy is happening. I tend to get sucked into dyeing at this time of year, and it's hard for me to keep up with knitting and spinning and other things while I'm dyeing and getting advent calendars done. So I'm very motivated to get those done and out of the house as soon as possible. But anyway, thank you again for joining me. Apologies if Darcy flashed you, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.